All right. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Nice to have
We're
you,
back.
Jackie. We're back.
It's the
We had so
Jack
much fun.
Challenge now.
Yeah, we had so much fun the first time. We have to do this again.
Totally.
Uh, so, for those watching and those that don't know, last year I interviewed Jackie, and we had a wonderful conversation about the possibilities that if you're watching this, then you're probably involved in a healing modality somehow, whether it's EFT, fast EFT, matrix reimprinting, hypnotherapy, um, even TRE, maybe even social work. I think it doesn't really matter. If you have a heart to help somebody, then this may be of interest to you. Jackie has a wonderful program um, that she's been sharing with practitioners, and it's an amazing program. I had the chance to go through it myself. And what I really like about what you're doing, Jackie, and I think we touched on this last time, and I think I want to expand on it a little bit if we could, is how you're really opening up the possibility for practitioners like ourselves. I know that when I got into this, I really had a vision of, having an office, working one-on-one with clients, and having my days filled with, 2, 3, 4, 5 sessions. And, I've pretty much done that. But what I like about your program is that it's really making me stand back a little bit and seeing the bigger picture, and seeing that there's a way that you can have the same impact with people, but on a broader scale. You and I were talking just a moment ago, and it occurred to me that the same amount of energy it takes to sit in front of one person is pretty much the same amount of energy it takes to sit in front of 100.
Yes, exactly.
And as someone who is devoted to the change work, um, there is a chance there for us to have much more of an impact. Much more of an impact. And I always look at my business as, um, you know, I work on myself so that I can in turn help others. And in helping somebody else, there is that ripple effect, because they go out, they behave differently, they look at life differently, they affect the people around them differently. And so, being able to do this on a bigger scale, I think is fulfilling that purpose much more efficiently.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe you could just speak to that a little bit. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, because I think I quite agree with you. Like, I feel like my role when I do one-on-one sessions, when I first got into tapping, my role is to be a perception shifter. My job is to really change that person's perception of whatever it is they're viewing at that moment in time. And by doing that, I open up their world to lots of possibilities that potentially were existing prior to the session. They just couldn't see it in that perceptual position they were in. And what I found when I started training more in healing modalities, let's say, was the people that I met there were the most kind-hearted, beautiful people, but a lot of them are stuck in a perceptual position, which is, I can't make money from this, or I'll never be able to go full time in this, or if I could go full time, it's not going to be a really good income, or I'll have to do I'll have to do a certain number of free sessions a week. Or there's so many perceptual positions, but it's all about this mentality of because I'm doing good and I'm putting the light back on people's eyes, or I'm helping them to see the world in all its true sense of magic, and really igniting that inner power, that fire back in people. Do I have the right to charge people for that? That's the other one as well. So for me, while I was always studying this and doing my kind of corporate job, I always wondered, could I ever transition? Because anybody who's been in it, and especially people who'd been in it like decades, they've been in it for a very long time. There were very few people who were doing it full time. And for those who were doing it full time, they didn't seem to be doing incredibly well by their words, not my words, or not by my perception. That was just what they were telling me. So I always thought that this was something that, while I initially went into it to help heal myself and feel better about stress at work, stuff that was coming up from the past, the more you do it with clients, the harder it is to walk away from and say, I'm not going to do that more full time. It's almost like an addiction in itself.
Yeah.
There is no better high, and I heard Kim Jewell saying that recently on a video. There is no better high than seeing the change in someone right in front of your eyes. And the more you do it, the more you want to see that change in the world. So I think what happened for me was, how do I get to a point where I make that change, which I did, but then how can I help? It almost feels like I'm doing what I do for my clients, for practitioners, because I really need to help them change that perceptual position or that perceptual place they're in, because there's no reason why the world isn't their oyster as a practitioner.
Yeah.
No reason why you can't manifest whatever you want to manifest. We just lock in how we think it should happen and what that should look like, instead of letting it go. And I suppose letting the universe do its magic as well. And
Yeah. Well, as I'm listening to you talk, and I think there's this idea in our space that what we do isn't a real job. And you know what I mean? Like, well, this isn't brick and mortar, or this isn't, when in reality, the biggest paying jobs are all conceptual. If you look at consultants, if you look at, in this day and age, really what we have is probably the most valuable asset on the planet. As we're moving into an age where more and more jobs are going to be outsourced by computers and robots and everything else, there's one thing that you can't outsource, and that is what we do, right?
Yeah.
The psychological aspect of understanding how the mind and body work together. And you're going to need that on every level of human experience. And so that's a big deal. And so as we move forward, I think the possibilities are not going to get less and less. I think they're going to get more and more. And the more we as practitioners can sort of claim that for ourselves and understand that, like you said, the world is our oyster.
Yeah, and I think you see that when you ask someone what they do. So if you just ask a member of the public, what do they do? They'll go, I'm an electrician, or I'm the CEO of a company. If you ask a holistic practitioner, a lot of the time they will, I help people. And I suppose, you can call it the elevator pitch or the sales pitch. They're not as strong in their, conviction of this is what I do and this is what I stand for. But what if you could get to the place that, you felt as important, and you felt as, and not in an egotistical way, but you felt as important, and you're creating as much value as the CEO of a multinational organization. Like, there is no difference between you and Richard Branson, really.
Exactly.
Yes, he has dollars in the bank, but wouldn't it be wonderful, like, if you could be the Richard Branson persona, in the sense of, if someone asked you what you do, they asked Richard Branson, he would go, yeah, I created Virgin, and I'm basically awesome. I could just imagine he'd be so in it, owning it with conviction. Wouldn't it be wonderful? You could go, yes, I am a hypnotherapist, I'm a fast EFT practitioner, I do matrix reimprinting, I actually help change people's lives. And yes, Richard Branson has helped change people's lives in a different way. And is he making a big impact? In his world, he is, but you are too. And people really need to own that. And that is touched on the workshop that I do, because I feel that that's such an important part of, if that's the only thing you got out of the course, and you never worked with corporate, and whatever your definition of corporate is, because it doesn't have to be the multinational, it could be the local gym or the local sports club or, the local soccer team. If you just got that one thing that you can stand with true conviction and strength and own it, and also know how to communicate it, so that the average person can understand. Because when Richard Branson is communicating what he does for a living, everyone will understand and they hear it. I think the problem is when we practitioners sometimes try and explain what we do, we're so passionate, we just get lost in, oh my God, I'm so excited and I can change your life, I can help you with depression and anxiety and addiction and overwhelm and and people are like, yeah, okay. Step away from the crazy person.
Right. Yeah. So, and then there's the other side too, I think, where practitioners, they're either very, very excited about what they can do, which I think is great. And sometimes that translates. Other times it scares people away. But then they can also, like you said, if they're not clear on what it is they do, they tend to go, instead of looking at the person in front of them, they tend to go into their heads and go, well, what is it that I do? I got to come up with a great elevator pitch and make sure it's all in alignment with what I do, and make sure I look good. I got to make sure I look good, and they put their ego in front of the person that's there. Their ego sort of gets in the way of the person that's right in front of them, and that person right in front of them is going to give them everything they need to communicate what it is that they do, right?
Yeah.
And in fact, you should share that story, because you just told me a story about your Pilates class and how that, I don't know, maybe you don't want to give any names.
Yeah, no, I think it's about authenticity and being authentic and coming from your heart space. And like you said, sometimes we get caught up in, oh my God, is my hair okay? Or am I wearing the right clothes? And, oh, I don't have my business card. Or so how could I ever approach that person? But sometimes it's just not about that. I feel like the universe is always presenting you with opportunities. It's whether you're in that space to see them. So as I was sharing with you earlier, it's coming into winter here. And for the last probably 6 months, I totally quit Pilates. I was doing it and I just thought I couldn't bother anymore. So last Friday at 9 a.m., I called them and said, hey, have you got any classes free? And they went, actually, we just have a space at the 10 a.m. slot, which meant I just had to quickly change, sort myself out and drive there. And I thought, okay, I'm going to do that. And I got there and the lady, the instructor, was finishing the previous class. And she said to me, oh, you're, is it a psychologist? And I went, no. And she said, oh, I might be confusing you with someone else. Are you like a life coach? I said, yeah, well, I do tapping. And it was funny because when I said the word tapping, one lady, there was two ladies in the previous class. One lady went, huh? Tapping? And the other lady with an American accent said, oh my God, tapping. We use that in our online programs. And I was like, oh. And so I always am intrigued when somebody actually recognizes tapping, because not a lot of people do. Anyway, she came over to talk to me, and she was in her Pilates gymnastics gear, and turns out this lady is the director of operations for quite a large international online business, and they use EFT tapping as some of their part of their online programs. Like, what's the chances? My first class back after 6 months, I'm going to bump into someone, synchronicity. It was crazy. And there was a few other things she said that was like, oh, okay then. And so we were chatting, and I was like, oh, it'd be great to catch up to see if there's an opportunity to work together. And she said, oh, I'd love that. I was like, I don't have a business card. She didn't have a business card, but I happened to have my phone, thankfully. So I wrote down her email. We emailed and we caught up yesterday, and we had an awesome conversation. Where that's going to go, I don't know. I'm open to all possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
It could just be a good contact, and it could come to nothing. It could come to something soon, or it could be something that's, you know, a couple of years down the line. But I think the point of the whole story is more about possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, you just don't know who you're going to bump into and when. I would never have guessed that this person, so the person she works for is actually an American guy, and turns out he actually lives in the suburb that I live in Australia. Now, the people who have told me about this person, and I've heard about his work before, and who put me on to him, I checked with them yesterday and said, did you know he like lives where I live in Australia? They were like, no, I thought he lived in the US. And I went, I know, isn't that crazy? So
you don't get much more serendipitous than that.
Oh, it was bizarre.
Yeah.
It's moments like that that I just laugh and go,
yeah.
Okay. And I don't need to know how it happens. I just know that my business is going to work and it's going to be successful. And I don't know what's going to happen or how it's going to happen or where it's going to come from. And it's about trust and letting go.
Yeah. What I love about that is, you know, there's work that you did to get to that point. You know, it's like you've laid the foundation, you've done the work, you have you know, presentations laid out, everything's there, so that when things do show up for you, it's just sort of like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And it is, but it's that work, I think, that allows you to be open for things like that. You know, I think back to, you know, just my personal career, and when I decided I wanted to become a practitioner, you know, I went out and I studied the crap out of it. You know, that was like step number one. I studied. And then I went out and I immediately used it. You know, I applied it. I tapped on friends. I got a group together. I found a group online, and I basically gave free sessions, you know, for several months, and just really honed my skills. But, you know, and slowly but surely I started charging for clients, and it just sort of went on and on from there. So it's, you know, laying that foundation. But I think the icing on the cake is that with these tools that we have, you know, that we can apply to ourselves, not just our clients, is we can really sort of move through those processes much faster, because we can get ourselves out of the way much faster. And, you know, to move into a little bit more about your program, what I love about your program is you do incorporate that part of it. You incorporate the addressing the fears, addressing the anxieties, the unsuredness, and you lay everything out for them. You give them everything there that they can use. And so then it's just about sort of getting out of your own way. But, you know, I think a lot of times it is just going and talking to that one person, you know, or going and talking to, you know, maybe a business that you used to work at, or that your cousin works at, or just, you know, opening that door, exposing yourself a little bit, because as you do that, the universe goes, oh, okay, you're laying this foundation, you know, now we're going to give something back to you, not to sound too esoteric or woo-woo, but
yeah,
I really find in my experience, that's what happens. When you put yourself out there, that's when things start coming back to you.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, being prepared, if you're prepared and you have all the material there, which is something that I provide on the course, then kind of a lot of the hard work is done. So you can't, once you've worked on your stuff, should an opportunity like that arise, like at my Pilates class, I have no fear and no worry about it, because you know, if something comes out of it, fantastic. I'm prepared. I've got lots of stuff that I could show them, or maybe we could do something together. Who knows? And I think that's what I wanted to be able to do for practitioners, because if you have all that hard work taken out, and then you can work on yourself and get your ego and your stuff out of the way, the opportunities kind of come to you. And I just had a flashback of I went to a meeting back in, I think it was March time. So it was a large banking institution in Australia. And I was sitting in the, you know, it can be quite intimidating there, the waiting areas, like the reception areas, because they're humongous. You know, it's just like all this glass front and beautiful art pieces. And I was sitting just waiting for this lady to come down, and she headed up kind of the HR department. So I was sitting there and I felt fine. And as she came towards me, I went to stand up, and what I forgot was that they had one of those, you know, those lamps that are on the angle, and they're kind of like a
kind of swoop
like
down.
bent.
Get a little, yes.
Yeah, I literally didn't realize, but I'd sat right under it. So let's just say I went up and doing. She was in stitches laughing. I was in that moment of like, oh my God, she's the head of HR for this huge institution. And then I was just like, let it go. So what? You actually made her laugh. She probably hasn't had a laugh today. Probably been so stressed, because, you know, those organizations, it's very stressful. So she was just like, oh my God, are you okay? While trying to contain her laughter. I was like, oh yeah, I'm fine. And then we sat down. Now, the thing in that moment is I could have let that ruin the whole meeting. I could have been so caught up in, oh my God, she thinks I'm a total, you know, blonde bimbo. I didn't even see the light. If I didn't even see the light, what's the chance of me selling anything to her? She's never going to believe in me. I walk into lampshades. But I didn't. I just sat in, oh, well, shit happens. You know what? And it's about perceptual position, changing that perceptual state. And in that moment, I had to change that perceptual state of, oh my God, what I did was I gave her a laugh for today. What I did was I gave myself a bit of a sensitive area on my head, which is going to definitely make me more present in this present moment. And let's get on with it. We ended
Great
up
icebreaker.
ended up, it was a great icebreaker, and we ended up having a great conversation, and we're looking at rolling out a program for her over the next, probably in the next couple of months. It's definitely before Christmas anyway. But again, it's about your perceptual state, which we were talking about at the beginning. It's so important that you be very almost militant about noticing where your perceptual state is.
Yes.
Or what it's doing. And then if you notice that it's not where it needs to be, you do something about it.
Yes.
Take ownership, take personal responsibility. We talk to our clients about it all the time.
You got it.
You know, I've seen practitioners and they don't take personal responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be the first to put my hand up, and, you know, I've done it in the last number of months. I had a really depressing time in February. I had a miscarriage in January, and it was traumatic. And I went into some very, you know, some just really, really dark places. But in all of that, I was like, this perceptual position is not where I want to be. And I just need to work through this stuff. And I need to change my perceptual position. And I had a really good shift in perceptual position, which was somebody said to me, and what it was that they said that changed it for me was like, my God, if you can feel this depth of grief and this depth of sadness, life's a duality. It means you must have experienced the other side of the spectrum. And my brain went, oh my God. And boing, and I bounced.
Wow.
And, you know, sometimes when you're in that place, you can't find that light switch to change your perceptual position. So don't be afraid to put your hand up and go, you know, man, I'm actually struggling we're human. We're not practitioners. We're not perfect. There's no way that my life is perfect. I'm a work in progress. And I'm going to have shit like everybody else. And if I have shit, I'm going to get online to people and go, can somebody please help me with this? Because I'm not really liking where I am. And yes, I need to work through it, but I'd like to work through it really fast. So tap the shit out of me.
Yeah. If people watch this for nothing else, I think that last 5 minutes is everything. Everything you just mentioned there. And I appreciate you being honest and candid, about your personal life. That's powerful. Yeah. And a great example, beautiful example of, like you're saying, perceptual positions and recognizing when we are in our shit, because we're simply not resourceful when we're in that moment. It's just not how we're built. We're not built to be resourceful in that moment. We're built to recognize that feeling and recognize it as a signal that we're in our shit and that there is another side. And it's a signal that we need to turn and face in the other direction. Because we know as practitioners, and as you said, when we're up in our heads, when we're telling ourselves the stories, when we're entertaining all of those deep, dark thoughts, the answer is not in those deep, dark thoughts.
No.
The answer is outside of that.
Yeah. And it was funny because I think when my miscarriage happened in January, I had booked in meetings for some of February. In hindsight, it would have made sense to cancel those meetings. But I didn't, because I think some part of me just wanted to, or maybe if I just work, I can just, I'll move through this much faster. But what was ironic was literally the universe smacked me in the face. So I was getting out of the car to go to my very first meeting, and it might have been 2 weeks after the miscarriage happened. And I was walking along the street. I had my notebook, I had my iPad in my hand, and I was carrying my handbag, and my friend was walking with me, and I was walking down the street, and it was a little bit uneven, and I tripped over myself. Mm-hmm. And I landed like a starfish on this it was in Sydney, busy, and it was about 8:45 in the morning, so workers were going to work. The iPad went flying, my notebook went flying, my handbag went flying, I went flying. And I got up, and one person, and my friend came to my aid, and one other person came over and was like, "Are you okay?" And my whole body was just shaking, and there was blood streaming down my knee. And it was about 5 to 9, and my meeting was at 9 a.m. So I sat on the wall, and I was like, okay, reality check, Jackie. And all I wanted to do, I could feel that 5-year-old in me who just wanted to cry and just wanted her mum, because my knee had been skint, and it was blue and red, and there was blood. And again, perceptual position was, shit, like I need to deal with this pain, but I also need to get to a meeting in 5 minutes. And I went in, I did some tapping for 5 minutes to kind of calm my body down, calm my mind down, and get myself in the right headspace, which I needed to be in to go in to do the meeting. And I was able to do that. I was really conscious, would they see my knee, but my dress covered it, so it was fine. But it was so funny. And it was almost that smack in the face that I needed to go, okay, clearly you're in pain. You're like, the universe has even told you you're in pain. You're not just emotional pain, you're in physical pain now. Mm-hmm. And so while I had done some work, I knew that I wasn't in the place. So I ended up cancelling the rest of the other business meetings, mm-hmm. and calling practitioners and going, okay, hit me with it. Yeah. I'm going to tell you everything that's going on in my mind, and it's a crazy mind. And you hit me with your stuff, because you need to change my perceptual position, because I don't really want to be falling flat on my face again, literally. But again, that needed to happen too. But it's just about also, I suppose, even in that moment, being able to shift myself out of the perceptual position, but taking personal responsibility and ownership for, I had shit to deal with. And just because I was going into a meeting and I was going to avoid it for that hour, I I wasn't going to continue to avoid it. And we can all do that. We can kind of go,
Oh, yeah.
I don't need to deal with it. I don't need to deal with it. I'm just going to get on with work. I'm just going to get on with work. But, you're just going to feel worse, and you're not going to see the possibilities. There probably could have been somebody walking down that street that I may have bumped into instead of, who could have been somebody that I could have had a conversation with that could have eventuated in some sort of business opportunity, potentially. Instead, I fell flat on my face.
Mm-hmm.
That way I wouldn't have seen that person. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. No, that was the wake-up call. That was the wake-up call you needed to go back and clean up the stuff, clean up what's going on. And, like you said, I think 95% of the population has been there. I mean, that's as practitioners, that's what we're addressing. And that's what we're looking at is, we all have these traumatic events. And if we don't take the time to address them, then, we're shutting down all kinds of possibilities, simply because our minds are somewhere else. Our minds are not in the present moment.
Yeah.
And sometimes, unfortunately, it takes a smackdown to wake us up. Literally, to wake us up. And what I love about this is, this is what we bring to our clients, whether it's one-on-one or, a corporate environment, or your local, like you said, your local gym, schools. The possibilities are endless,
and I think that's the thing as well. Practitioners feel like, oh my God, I need to go find some clients. I need to find clients. To be honest, you don't need to find clients. Clients will find you if you're in a perceptually clear place. So what was funny, I always know when I'm clear and I'm okay. Because I always feel like the universe will send me a client who's almost a total mirror story. So I had a lady about maybe 4 or 5 weeks. I can't remember. It was not too long after, and I had a lot of work done by that stage. And this lady walked into my office, and it was almost a mirror story. Do you know what I mean? Slightly different. There was a miscarriage, and and she was going through all her grief, and and I was sitting there, and she was just telling me a story.
Yeah. Wow.
Whereas, if I hadn't dealt with my stuff, I just would have been totally involved in that, and, feeling sorry for her. And not that I don't feel sorry, I have compassion for people, but at the end of the day, it is their story. So you need to have that level of detachment so that you can do your job and you can do it well. But that has happened to me so many times that if something big happens in my life, the universe will start sending me a couple of clients who are like mirroring practically just what's happened in my life to show me that well done, you're okay with this now. And, I think
sometimes maybe there's a little more to heal.
Or sometimes, or that's the thing.
Yeah.
You go, actually,
yeah.
I was okay with, and sometimes it's just words as well. I find you might be okay with the word, I don't know, loss, but you're not okay with the word miscarriage, for example. I don't know. Yeah, no. But none of those words have any power to me anymore. It's just another word. And that was a magnificent learning experience for me. And I've learned to grow and evolve, and I'm here, and I feel awesome. And I feel like anybody who's going through fertility issues, I can seriously help you with some stuff, because I know all about it. But it's amazing, It
is amazing. Gosh, just such a testament to this work,
But I think that's the thing as well. People think when you're a practitioner and when you are a certain level of practitioner, it's almost like, sometimes it can be, we're not worthy. And sometimes it can be, oh my God, you guys you're perfect. And it's like, it's not about that. And for me, being authentic and real and honest and going, I have my shit, and I wear my heart on my sleeve. You can ask me anything about my life and I'll tell you what's going on. Because I've got nothing to hide. Life is too short. And all of the events you have in your life, whatever they may be, there is some beautiful learning or message to get from that will make you a stronger, more resourceful human being and practitioner.
100%.
So, but always remembering that, you're never too well trained to stop doing your work.
Because you're human and you're alive and you're breathing. Yes.
And there will always be shit. There will always be stuff. It's just how you react to the stuff. And it's funny now because sometimes something will happen and I could share it with a friend and say, oh, this has happened. And I see them, those practitioners sometimes going, and they'll go into the drama and, oh my God, I can't believe you did that. Or he said that, or she said this, or da, 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 da. And I'm sitting back going, oh my God, they're doing judgment. That's interesting. and then I'm kind of like, why are you being triggered by this story that I'm telling you? It's just a story. You asked me what's going on in my life. I just told you the story. It's just a story.
Yeah. Awareness.
Mm-hmm.
You touched on that earlier. Awareness, it's like when you bumped your head on the light, you had a moment of, oh my God, this is going to shit. And then you caught yourself. And, it wasn't like you had to tap in the moment or anything. It was just like, let's just change that window. Let's just change how I'm looking at this right now. And I really find that the more I do this work, the more aware I become of those moments and of those perceptual positions, like you're saying. And because it occurs everywhere in life. I mean, it's all about the story you're telling yourself. So, what story, if people are watching, what story are you telling yourself about your business? What story are you telling yourself about who you can approach? What story are you telling yourself about what you're capable of, how much money you can earn? All of these things are just perceptual positions. They're just stories you're telling yourself. Yeah. And so again, one of the things I love about what you're doing, Jackie, is that it really is opening up possibilities. It's changing paradigms, I think, for practitioners. I mean, hey, there are people out there. There's practitioners out there doing what we do that are speaking at Google, that are talking to billion-dollar companies. Why not one of us? Why not you? Why not me? Why not somebody watching this video? And it really is just about seeing that there is that possibility and then taking that next step.
Yeah.
Taking that next step forward. And so in a lot of ways, and I want to talk about your program, in a lot of ways, that's what you're laying out here for people. So why don't you just talk a little bit about the program, maybe some nuts and bolts, just a little bit for people that might be interested in it. I know we don't really have dates cemented, as far as like where you're going to be doing this next, but I think this is something that people can look up. You can leave your URL, your web address. We'll attach this somewhere around here in this video, so that if people are interested, they could look into it further. But why don't we share a little bit about how you've laid out this program and what you're doing, because I think it's really, really important.
So yeah, what I've done is I've created a 3-day workshop, and the workshop, while I'm providing you with all of my material that I have used personally to approach corporates and to get jobs from corporates. So you'll be getting templated emails, you'll be getting templated quotes, you'll be getting templated proposals, you'll be getting templated a 1-day workshop. So you will be getting the PowerPoint that you can show them. You'll be getting a workbook for the employees. You'll be getting forms for employees to fill in. Like the list goes on, like literally whatever you need to create a business approaching corporates you can do. But that's not really, while the workshop is called How to Tap into Corporates, again, I want to help change people's perceptual position. It's not necessarily just about that. Like a lot of people who've gone on the course, have they approached corporates? Not necessarily. what it's actually done for them is it's just helped them change their perceptual position about who they are as practitioners and who they can approach, and open them up to possibilities. So I've seen practitioners who've come on the course and they start doing a talk at their local gym, or they'll start doing a talk at their local community hall, something that they've never ever done before. I've seen people now approach schools or government or organizations, so or just small businesses in their local town. So it doesn't have to be the Starbucks and Coca-Colas or McDonald's of the world that you're approaching. And sometimes I think people get intimidated. They see the name of the course and go, ah. Mm-hmm. If you're having that reaction, go tap on it.
Absolutely. Triggers.
It's just a name, and behind every name is a person and a team. And you are part of a team because you're in a network of practitioners. So what's the difference? They just have to be wearing suits. So the concept of it is, why not make your time, be more effective with your time, and be able to choose what it is that you want to do. So perhaps you want to be running workshops for corporates or tapping sessions for corporates. How do you sell that into a corporate? And how can you do that? So almost maybe even that you have them on some sort of retainer. So every month you're going in and you're doing this work. That way you potentially could be earning the equivalent of $4,000 a day or $7,000 for a couple of days Australian, which means that's somebody's monthly salary, usually around the world. Which means you could have the rest of the month free, and you could volunteer that. You could have one-on-one clients with that. You could be creative with that. You could go learn other modalities with that. So it gives you flexibility. I have got some dates. I'm just checking them here. So we do have Dublin coming up now on the 28th of July. So it's the 28th, 29th and 30th. It's a Thursday, Friday and Saturday. And it's at the Metro Hotel in Dublin. We're looking at Los Angeles on the 9th, 10th and 11th of September. And we're just confirming venues. Then we're looking at Toronto on the 16th, 17th and 18th of September. And then Brisbane, Australia on the 7th, 8th and 9th of October. So if you are interested, you need to apply for a seat. The reason we do applications is because we try and keep the training intimate. Because one of the things I learned, even in the last year of doing, is when we went on the workshops, it was fantastic because we did have a small group of people. And whatever questions came up, I was able to answer them. So while I'm giving you pretty much everything I possibly can, there were still people that had questions at the end of the day that, may not have been written in the workbook. So it was great to be able to answer those questions for people. And so people felt confident leaving the course, and they knew what it was that they needed to do to change their world and change their business. So you need to put an application in. This year, what we've done differently is we're putting an early bird rate in. So you can save $500 if you apply early. So for Los Angeles, the early bird ends on 12th of August. So if you can get your applications in before then. We're also doing 2 different payment plans to help people, because some people get overwhelmed when they see that the cost of the course. Early bird is $3,000, but normal rate is $3,500. So you can do a 4-week or a 4-month payment plan. So, to try and help people overcome that financial hurdle. But as I say, to people, you can make the cost of this course back literally by booking 1 workshop. It is that simple. We had a lady in the last number of months who booked a couple of workshops with BMW Australia. And, what was great for her was she had the workshop. She has all the material. She literally just needed to put the BMW logo on the workbook cover and she was good to go. So, I think, and what it feels like for me that I'm doing is I'm creating a network of practitioners around the world, a network that can support each other on this journey of corporate, whatever that looks like for you. So, last week we had a lady talking about getting into school. So she was reaching out to a couple of us going, this is what I'm thinking about saying in my proposal. This is what I'm thinking about doing. What do you think? and she managed to secure the gig, and she did 3 different mini workshops with tapping, which was fantastic. So we're kind of all there to support each other as we learn, grow, and develop, and approach different corporates, and see what works even in just different countries, because sometimes, you know, the language might be a little different, or the keyword at the time that's really the buzzword in that corporate environment could be different from country to country. So making sure that we're able to help each other with that. And, you know, if and when there's an international company that wants assistance with their offices around the world, there's then a team of practitioners that you can tap into. And, you know, that's what you're selling when you're going to corporates. You're not alone. It's not just you. There's a team of you, and we're all here to help. So, you know, it's a fantastic, I'm a bit biased. It's a fantastic opportunity, and it's fun. It's a great 3 days. It's full on. There's a lot of material. I'm usually hoarse by the end of the weekend. But you get to join this amazing group of practitioners that have taken that leap last year. And hopefully you'll be seeing the difference of it after you've been on the course, and you know, you'll get to change that perceptual position, and you don't need to be stuck there anymore, and you can revolutionize your business however that will look. You know, like I said, it doesn't necessarily need to be the multi-million dollar company. It might just mean that you start running group workshops instead of one-on-ones. It could be something as simple as that.
Yeah, and I think that's important. Again, going back to that point, you know, it's your business is your business. And I think that, you know, speaking to you, me, everybody's business is their own, and how that's going to turn out. Sometimes we have an idea of how it's going to turn out, and other times we just, you know, it turns out something completely different, but it's suitable for us, you know. And so maybe for somebody that is reaching out into their community, maybe for someone that is going to BMW, maybe for someone, you know, I like the idea, and I think it would, a lot of people maybe listening to this can resonate. This may resonate with them, but, you know, doing 1 or 2 big accounts a month, and then spending the rest of your time in your community volunteering. You know, I think a lot of us have big hearts. We want to give, we want to reach out. You know, I love volunteering at the Habitat, working with residents there, but I look in my own community and I see where help is needed, and there's probably not a lot of income. And so being able to, you know, have a couple accounts where you're able to spend more time with family, friends, doing things that kind of fill you up on the other level. But it's also important to remember that, you know, I think one of the biggest things that can hold people back is they hear the word corporate, as you mentioned earlier, and they do get kind of triggered, and they see this big entity and they think it's some kind of machine, but they're all people. They're all people that need, you know, what we have. I mean, who doesn't need, you know, someone's hand to hold on to now and then? Who doesn't need, I mean, as you mentioned earlier, we're practitioners. Luckily, most of the time we're aware when we need to raise our hand and you know, call up a friend for a session. But a lot of people in these corporations don't realize that, and so they get spun out in the emotions and the angers and the triggers. They don't understand why they're behaving a certain way, and this goes all the way up into important institutions like governments, world governments. You know, you look at the world today and you look at what's going on, and it's all based on emotional misunderstandings. And so, you know, the fact that you can bring this into a large corporation or any kind of business or any type of community means that you're really helping the world, you know, if you stand back and look at it. And so, you know, again, I think that's one of the biggest things that you're offering here is really a reframe and changing that perceptual position of what it is that we have and the value of it, and who are we not to get it out there, you know, into these corporations. So,
and what I'd like to do is, so the early bird for Los Angeles is the 12th of August, and the early bird for Toronto is the 19th of August. But what I want to suggest is who the first, let's say 5 people. for the first 5 people who actually sign up before August 1st, and pay, like they apply for their seat and I invoice them and they pay, they will get a half-hour mentoring with me after their workshop. So that will really help them hit the ground running. So to encourage people to get in there, make that decision, you know, change their life, change their business, get it while the early bird's going. If you sign up before and pay before August 1st, you get to meet with me one-on-one. We can have a chat with me and Alan did. And I'll help you in that half an hour to really kind of what you need to do and or where you're at, or if you're stuck with all the stuff that you've learned, or if there's anything going on, I'll be able to help you kind of nut it out. Or if you're working on a proposal and you want to use the half hour, then I can give you my personal opinion on what I think would work or how you would need to tweak it. So,
wow, that's super cool. And I'll sweeten the pot too. I'll offer an hour of coaching for the first 5 people that sign up. I think what I'll probably do is have my personal link available somewhere. And so if they sign up through that, if you sign up through that, I will, again, sweeten the pot with an hour of coaching.
And if you sign up through your link, I'll do the half-hour mentoring for 5.
All right, cool. That's our little marketing thing. All right, cool.
Done that now.
Well, yeah, get that out of the way. So, Jackie, I think that, you know, I really love connecting with you and talking shop with you. And you are an inspiration, I think, to a lot of practitioners out there, just in how you show up in the world and the work that you do and the work that you've done on yourself. And I want to thank you for being very open and honest on this call. And thanks for being a great colleague and a great friend. I can't wait till we see each other in person.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's lovely to catch up, Alan. And now we'll be launching our own radio show before we know it.
As soon as I can figure out a podcast. I don't understand that stuff anyway. All right. So everybody watching, thank you for watching. If you made it all the way through, appreciate it. And hopefully you got some value from this. That was our number one intention, was to bring some value to the table. So yeah, I hope you got some there. And again, can't recommend Jackie's course enough. If this is something that speaks to you and resonates with you, you know, the first step is just to, as she said, click the link and apply. And as soon as they have questions there, Jackie, you can answer them personally. Yes. Yeah,
they can go through your link either, and they can just send through messages or go through the website and ask questions.
Awesome.
So yeah, all questions can be answered. Just message me through, and yep, we can deal with all of them.
Fantastic.
We'll see some of you who've been watching this in either Dublin, Los Angeles, Toronto, or Brisbane. So that will be good.
Sweet. All right. I guess that's all for now.
Bye.
Bye.